Have you ever found yourself stuck in what feels like permanent research mode? You're just one more article, one more tutorial away from being finally ready to start. Well, that feeling, that hesitation, it has a real cost. We call it the perfection tax. And today, we're going to talk about how to stop paying it for good.
This right here, this is the whole idea in a nutshell. It completely flips the script on how we're taught to think about growth. It tells us that readiness isn't something you just wait around for. It's something you actually create by taking action. So let's see how this actually plays out. To really get this, I want to tell you a quick story about a client. It's a perfect little parable that shows exactly how easy it is to fall into this trap of waiting for confidence. Okay, so picture this. A really sharp founder who absolutely needed to get good at this one new crucial technique for their business. But they just didn't do it. They were completely and totally stuck. So why were they stuck? Well, deep down, they just felt unqualified. They were caught in this classic loop of thinking, okay, I'll start practicing as soon as I feel more skilled, as soon as I feel confident. They were literally waiting for this magical feeling of readiness to just show up out of nowhere. Of course, that feeling never came. In fact, the total opposite happened. As the weeks ticked by, the task just seemed to get bigger and scarier in their head. The hesitation got deeper. Their avoidance wasn't building confidence. It was actually shredding it. And this, right here, is the question that changes everything. What if that whole approach is completely backward? What if confidence isn't something you wait to receive, but something you have to actively build, brick by brick? So that cost of waiting, that friction, it has a name. This is what we mean by the perfection tax. It's the hidden price you're paying every single time you hesitate. And look, the perfection tax isn't just a feeling of anxiety. No, it's a real operational cost to your business. It's this invisible drag that slows down your growth and just kills your ability to execute, all because you're waiting for these perfect conditions that, let's be honest, are never going to arrive.
Now, if we want to stop paying this tax, we have to correctly diagnose the real barrier. So many founders think it's a skill gap, but you know what? It's almost never actually about the skill.
Okay, so look at this breakdown because it's so important. On one side, you've got resistance. That's the heavy stuff, right? The pressure to be good instantly, that feeling of being unqualified, the weight of waiting for the perfect moment. Then on the other side, you've got the skill itself, which is usually just a series of small, practical steps. We think we're fighting the skill, but we're almost always just fighting the resistance. This was the big aha moment for that founder we were talking about. Once they finally started, they realized the work itself, it wasn't even that hard. It was the thought of the work, that resistance, that was so crushing. The mental burden was way, way heavier than the actual task. So if the real enemy is resistance, not the skill, then we need a tool that's designed specifically to break that resistance. We call it the 10-minute rep protocol. And I want you to think of it as the first foundational brick you lay to build a truly resilient, action-oriented identity. And the protocol itself is incredibly simple. First, just pick one thing. You know the one you've been avoiding. Step 2, set a timer for only 10 minutes. That's it, just 10. 3, do a tiny, manageable piece of it. Don't try to solve the whole thing. And 4, this is the most important part, just focus on motion. Not perfection, not results, just motion. Just start moving. So why is this so unbelievably effective? Well, because it attacks the resistance head on. It takes that huge, scary task and shrinks it down until it's not intimidating anymore. It proves to you, with hard evidence, that readiness is a byproduct of motion. Your courage gets built by doing, not by thinking. And the confidence? It's created inside the reps, not before you start. When you start doing this, it creates this massive strategic shift in how you operate. You literally pivot from being passive to being active. You move away from that old, broken model where you're just sitting on the sidelines, passively waiting for the feeling of confidence to give you permission to start. And you shift to a totally new model where you are actively, strategically building what we call skill capital. Every single 10-minute session is like making a deposit in the bank. You're accumulating a real asset, strengthening your business's capabilities with every single rep. If you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Readiness is not the cause of action. It is the effect of action. Your readiness to act is a direct result of your motion. The more you move, the more ready you'll become. It really is that straightforward. Now, if you're done waiting around and you're truly committed to actively building that skill capital, there are ways to speed up the process. When you're ready for some guided support to really strengthen your capabilities, exploring something like 365 Freedom is a really powerful next step. So let's leave you with this question. And I don't mean tomorrow or next week, I mean right now. What is that one skill, that one task you've been putting off? What skill capital are you going to start building in the next 10 minutes?